Yo, what's going on? It's your man Rick Dawn, and we are going to talk some dope thief. You know what it is. If you take a look at my shoe 3 times in this whole recording, you got to go cop it at aliveshoes.com/don1jelly. Yeah. Now, this episode starts off with Ray's father, who's in the garage. As you know, in the last episode, Ray, his father, actually came and stopped Ray's killing within seconds. We all thought that Ray's father was going to be in jail, but for whatever reason, he's on the street shooting people. And this episode starts with that. All right, he pulls that person's body to the garage, creates the longest blood trail in TV show history, and nobody seems to, follow the trail to the garage. But I digress. So he's in the garage taking a look at this body and basically trying to assess who sent this person. And we all come to the conclusion that this was a cartel cleanup person coming to get rid of people like Ray. All right. But then we pan over into the house where everyone's trying to save Ray. Even Manny, everybody makes an appearance here. Manny, everybody. And they're trying to save Ray. And Ray is doing one of the most immaculate jobs I've ever seen in TV show history of milking and trying to sell the pain of this gunshot wound. Now, I don't know. I've never been in the presence of someone who's been shot in the leg. But what I can tell you is Ray made it seem like he got shot 25 times. All right. Now, in this show so far, Ray has been shot twice, once in the shoulder. And we learned that shoulder wound is starting to become infected and it gets shot in the leg. And I'm telling you, when I say this, man, you would never understand how serious I'm talking about this. Yeah, you will never get it unless you watch this episode. This man is selling this leg wound like I've never seen before. He's selling this leg wound so much that he points a gun at his father who's trying to help. He even points a gun at his foster mother who reaches for his phone to call the police. No cops. So yeah, he just milking the S word out of this little leg shot. And his father gets this crazy idea. He gets some shears. He puts them on the stove, heat them up really, really hot, comes over and places the shears on top of Ray's leg to seal the wound. So a lot is going on there. But anyway, the DEA have a briefing on Ray and what charges he faces. We kind of pan from the leg wound scene to the DEA, who are discussing all of the charges that Ray will face as a result of what he's doing. And I'm telling you right now, Ray is wrapped up in some really serious stuff. He has first-degree murder, impersonating a DEA agent. He has a lot going on. But anyway, we learn because there's a little flashback scene where we kind of get into the shoes of Ray as an infant. It was kind of sad, honestly, to see that a little infant baby boy is kind of walking through this maze of people who seem to be partying and not even paying attention to the fact that there's a baby amongst them. And, you kind of get the sense that they're like drinking and smoking, and this baby is just kind of unsupervised. The baby makes his way to the bathroom and he sees his mother with a turnip or something wrapped around her arm as if she's just taken a syringe to the arm. And it's so sad because you start to kind of put one and one together and say, hey, if this is the life that Ray has lived, then perhaps this is why he came out the way he came out. But anyway, the DEA have wiretaps throughout Ray's house. This is really cool instance in this episode where I even learned something. I mean, you learn something when you watch crime documentaries. I'm like, okay, if I'm ever in a situation that requires or might necessitate my house or my car or my home being wiretapped, I need to play annoying music, because that's what happens here as the DEA is trying to listen to the conversations of the people inside of Ray's house and car at a later scene. They get this bright idea to play this music, and this distorts what the DEA agents are able to hear. And they struggle noticeably throughout this episode trying to understand what's going on, to the point where a couple of DEA agents are having arguments like, hey, no, this happened, no, that happened, because the music is distorting things. And it just so happens to be some of the most annoying music of all time. And by annoying, I mean music like pop music from the 2000s. Hilarious. Anyway, yeah, so they're listening to their conversations and trying to find out more intel about Ray and company. Anyway, we finally get a appearance from Son, and Ray, when he sees Son and his mother and his henchmen, Ray is not susceptible to Son's visit, mainly because in the last episode, Son did call Ray, but on the phone, Ray was able to decipher the message that Son sent to him, because Son was in the midst of DEA agents. So I'm not sure how this works. I'm like, okay, Son is pretty much in DEA custody, and the DEA has him calling Ray to try to set him up. But then they let him go, one, and then two, Son goes to Ray's house with his mother and his henchmen, and the DEA is not right there trailing behind. I don't understand what the heck is going on here, but I will tell you it's a little confusing. But it's at this point that Ray's is pretty much angry at Son, and Son's mother, who apparently was a nurse or a doctor in the Vietnam War. She's there to kind of help Ray with his wound, because we soon learned that Ray's wound is so bad that he might die as a result of blood loss. And due to this blood loss, he's going hysterical. And they have to bring in somebody. They want to take him to the doctor, but he doesn't want to go to the doctor for obvious reasons. So Son's mother kind of comes in and gives him a little shot that kind of eases the pain and proceeds to try to work on him and resuscitate him. But we later learn that this is not enough. But there's a car that continues to circle Ray's house, and I can't understand why at this, because by this point, when I'm first seeing the car circle the house, I don't know all the things that I know now. So initially I'm like, why won't they just go into the house? Like, if you have muscle, you have the cartel. Like, I've never seen the cartel or a biker gang, if you will, portrayed so weakly. And that is one of the weak points of this series. Like, the cartel and the biker gangs, they are depicted in such a clumsy way. Okay, so anyway, but you don't quite know exactly who's in this car, but you kind of assume that it's the cartel. So anyway, there's a car circling Ray's house, and you hear Latino music. So you definitely equate the music that you're hearing, the events that just happened, as in Ray's father shooting a cartel member. You equate all these things to this car basically being filled with cartel members, just trying to find Ray or spot Ray. But the thing that's kind of weird is they're all, by all I mean Son, Ray, everybody inside the house is right by this window. So theoretically speaking, you could just shoot at the window and hit everybody in the house, because everybody just right in front of the window with the blinds wide open. I'm telling you, I'm not lying. But anyway, Ray is able to kind of get away, and he kind of shuts the door behind him. He runs upstairs, or rather he crawls because his leg, and he contemplates suicide. All right, so they have this weird sequence where he's like gotten away from everybody. He's in the attic and he has the gun. He's kind of like putting it in these little weird places, and he's contemplating suicide. He even gets a visit from his old girlfriend who died some time ago, and he has these reoccurring visions of her. But in this case, he doesn't kill himself. Instead, he shoots the radio, because again, there's a radio playing 2000s music, and it drives Ray so crazy that it staves off suicide for just a moment. He blasts the radio, and this causes everybody downstairs to now panic and pull the door open, because they're like, wait a minute, did he just kill himself? Because like I said, he got away from them, but they was kind of like giving him space, but he got away from them, closed the door. But by this point, when they hear the gunshot, they pull the door open, and by they I mean Manny. They go upstairs, they see that he's fine and well, and he's basically kind of like, hey, I couldn't take the music anymore. So again, this show has made a living off of these weird misdirections. So we all knew that they wasn't gonna let Ray kill himself like that, but the fact is, it was meant to be a misdirection. All right, and once the DEA, who has wiretapped Ray's house, and they hear these gunshots, they're like, oh my, was that a gunshot? They get into police mode, like, hey, send a car over. And then once Ray shoots the radio, this prompts somebody outside to take a shot into the house, which was weird to me. I mean, it was so many weird things that happened in this episode. So once Ray fires the shot at the radio, whoever was watching his house, they fire a shot into the house and hit the mannequin. But they only fire one shot, which was strange. And then you hear a car squeal off, okay? You see one shot come into the house, and then the car drives off, okay? So this causes everybody inside the house to obviously be a little nervous. This causes the DEA to send somebody over. So a lot of chain events happen as a result of Ray shooting that radio and that cartel member returning fire inside the house. I wasn't sure why they did that. Like, were you waiting for someone to shoot a gun to attack Ray? Why didn't you just shoot earlier? I mean, it was just weird. But nevertheless, this causes more frenzy within the house, and they're like, hey, we have to get Ray out of here. Ray, we have to get him to a hospital. And we pan to the scene where Manny's son and family go outside with guns. And I'm like, wait a minute, they're going outside in a crowded Philadelphia neighborhood. And we already know that somebody called called the police and reported shots fired. So at any point, the police could pull up, theoretically speaking, if this was real life. But nevertheless, Manny, Manny, son's mother, and son's little bodyguard, they all go outside with AR-15s and shotguns and straps. And Manny is arguing with Son, like, hey, this is getting crazy. Yo, whoever wrote Manny's character did a terrible job. We're talking about the guy who just got done playing El Chapo. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is, like, you can't have him play Al Chapo and then have him play such a weak character. I feel like whoever wrote Manny's character did a terrible job because he comes across as a bambling, whiny pants. And he's like, hey, I'm surrendering. And then we see a car at the opposite side of the street, and the car is approaching slowly. And as it gets closer, we start to see that this is that same car that's been circling the house over and over and over again. So Manny's like, I am just gonna surrender. If he does something to Manny, he does something to Manny. I don't. So Son is like, bro, you tripping. And Manny's like, yo, he's gonna surrender, and if he gets shot, he gets shot. He doesn't care no more. He's tired of running. He's tired of the anxiety. He's tired of the frenzy. So he, kind of puts the gun on the ground, and the car approaches, and we're thinking to ourselves like, oh snap, Manny about to die because he doesn't have a gun, and he's literally in front of the car. Like, the person doesn't even have to shoot Manny. They can just drive over Manny. But to our surprise, it is Manny's fiance. And you know what? The show is basically playing with you because here's what they're trying to do. We know that there's a black, look like a Benz or some kind of fancy car circling the house, and we hear Latino music coming from the car the whole time. Then, all right, keep in mind, that car is circling over and over and over again. That black car. Now, we also know that when Ray shot the radio, a bullet shot came inside the house and struck the mannequin in Ray's attic. So we know that there is another car out there, obviously circling. We don't know if they're circling or we don't know. But here's what we do know. There's a black car circling Ray's house, and a shot came from a car into Ray's house. So when Manny's fiance comes out of that black car, we're like, what? How? But then I remember when that shot came into Ray's attic and hit the mannequin, they did show a Latino cartel member that fired that shot. But what we didn't really know is because we didn't really know as viewers that there was a second car that was obviously circling Ray's house. Okay, so Ray's fiance was in one car, but apparently there was a cartel member also keeping tabs on the house in a second car that we just don't know about. So that shot from the cartel member did not come from that car that was circling that they showed us. Apparently there was another group of people like watching the house, but it just didn't make sense. This was, again, this episode had a lot of misdirection, a lot of sleight of hand, if you will, and a lot of playing on your emotions and what you think is going to happen, but it's not executed well because it's like, okay, because you know, real people use real life logic. If Manny's wife was circling his house like that, and there was a cartel member outside who fired a shot into the house, why wouldn't that cartel member take out Manny's fiance? Because hey, if you're a cartel member, you're gonna say this like, yo, there's a black car that keeps circling the house and stopping, and somebody would have obviously said, like, who is it? It's not us. And that would have caused real cartel to maybe even shoot that car or, see who's in that car or what have you. And I'm also confused as to why the cartel is only sending one member. Like when in the last episode, Ray gets confronted with that cartel member who's about to kill him, but ultimately dies because of Ray's father. You would have thought there would have been a follow-up guy to come and shoot Ray's father, but for whatever reason, they got the cartel one deep out here in these streets. So yeah, it's really weird how they're depicting these gangs that have these ruthless reputations, and they're showing you their ruthless reputation in some scenes. Like you see bodies, you see, they go into the pawn shop, light the guy up. You seeing it? They cut the head off, leave it in front of the house. We're seeing it, but when it's like Ray and Manny involved in the scene, they are completely nerfed. Okay, but nevertheless, before they really take Ray to the hospital, Ray reminds Manny of that $2 bill. Like, yo, Manny, he's selling the crap out this shot wound. Let me tell you, Manny, don't forget, take the $2 bill. Here it is. It's a code at the bottom. We might need it later. I'm like, see, they already foreshadowing the conclusion of this series. They already telling us, apparently, and I'm saying it before it even happens, at some point, they're going to have Ray pretty much cornered, and Ray is going to have that final lifeline and say, hey, I know where the $2 bill is, and they got the code. You need the code. You can't shoot Ray if you need the code. You know how Ray talk. So that's obviously what Ray is trying to insinuate to the camera and to Manny, etc. That he has the $2 bill, and he gives Manny the $2 bill, which is a little strange because I thought that Manny already had one of the two $2 bills that they had. But he gives Manny, it looks like the second $2 bill, which means he doesn't have that bargaining chip should he get cornered. So I'm not sure if that's like a small detail that they missed, but I'm not sure. But anyway, eventually they get the idea to, once, Manny's fiance kind of joins the group and, they're able to congregate inside the house, and, Manny's fiance is kind of brought up to speed about what's going on. They really come to the conclusion that Ray has to get to a hospital. And it's at this point that they carry Ray out of the house. And again, your real life logic kicks in. It's like, yo, if Ray is being carried outside of the house, and yes, son's mother, which is hilarious to see this Vietnamese grandmother even, with a big old little AR-15, keeping. I'm like, yo, this is definitely not real. Like, yo, a Vietnamese mother-son duo is not risking their life for a Philadelphia man named Ray. It's just not happening. But I'll play along. But look, so they're kind of keeping guard as they put Ray inside of a car. Ray rides with his father. And while riding to the hospital, a chain of things happen. The first thing that happens is that the DEA get active. They realize that, and it's really the female cop who got shot, the undercover cop. She's the one who puts it all together faster than everybody. Like, hey, they're going to the hospital, but more than likely this is an ambush. So she calls for backup, or tells the DEA agent to call for backup to be there at that hospital because they're going to kill Ray. And the DEA doesn't want Ray to die in a frivolous manner because Ray has so many connections, so much information, and also everybody anybody wants to get Ray. Okay, so if Ray dies frivolously, then they lose all these leads to the Hells Angels, or I should say the biker gang. They lose their connections to the cartel and everybody in between. Everybody that's wrapped up in trying to get this money and these codes and all this stuff. So they don't want Ray to just die so easily, which I think is ridiculous. He should have already been dead. I mean, the man has been shot twice, for crying out loud. But they are driving to the hospital, and it's at this time that Ray and his father have this little heartwarming moment where Ray is like really lashing out at his father about not being there, not being present, etc., etc. And his father kind of pushing back and saying, hey, man, I'm right here in this car with you. If I didn't love you, I wouldn't be here, putting his life on the line, if you will. So they get to the hospital, and Manny kind of pulls up with his crew, son and them. And they're like, yo, before you go into this hospital, let us do some real recon. Let me check out the scene, make sure this is not anything bad could happen. And just as he says that, one of the biker gang members drives by and sees them both and hits that U-turn, and right then and there it's about to go down. Now, even though the DEA do send police to the hospital, it's pretty apparent that they're not going to get there in time. All right, they're not going to get there in time. And then a firestorm happens where there's like this gigantic shootout. Now, I want to say this real quick. Ray's father communicates something to Ray about how Ray was used to take somebody else down. This particular plot, this elaborate plot, apparently involved Ray being used to take down somebody. Ray's father alludes to somebody, I'm assuming the drug dealer or the biker gang, making a deal with a dirty federal agent. And I believe that it's Jack who got killed inside the farm when Manny and Ray stormed it. So apparently Jack was a Fed, and he had made a deal with a Jack was the dirty cop that the drug dealers made a deal with. So I think Ray's father is communicating that for the first time to Ray, like, hey, when you guys stormed that barn, there was a dirty DEA agent in there, and you guys opened up a lid to some crazy corruption. So it's a lot of people that want you taken care of. Like, you got the biker gang, you got the cartel, you got the DEA, you got the police. Like, you done really set off a nasty chain of events, and your actions have, for all intents and purposes, has revealed a lot. And it's a lot going on underneath the surface, and Ray is attached to all of it. So it's at this moment that his father pretty much communicates to him what's going on. And it's right at this time where the first shot is fired. Okay, the first shot is fired right after that confession from Ray's father. And I gotta point this out. This is one of the goofiest shootouts I've ever seen in a TV show. Okay, listen. There's nothing that I can say from my voice to your ears that will help you understand how goofy this shootout was between the biker gang and Manny's son, Ray's father. I'm going to try my best to articulate how goofy this was. Now, mind you, this is the biker gang that has artillery up the wazoo. They have guns all over the place. They are trained. You would imagine they shoot at targets a lot. They always have firearms on them. And Ray is injured. Ray's father is, just getting out of jail. So you can assume that he's pretty decent with a gun. Apparently son is like some ex-military. I don't know. Like, I thought he was just a guy with glasses and maybe knew how to fight a little bit. But the way this son handles his gun is like outrageous. Manny is a bambling idiot. Okay, that's how they wrote him. It's not my fault. He's a bambling idiot the way they wrote him. But for whatever reason, he's one of those characters that's so stupid that he knows how to dodge bullets and shoot well. And then you got son's bodyguard henchman, who you can assume that he's in the gang as well. But nevertheless, in this shootout, Manny, son's bodyguard, and Ray's father, that's 4 people with guns, are able to basically knock off the entire biker gang. Okay, now I'm gonna say that based on what I was able to see, there's about 12 to 15 biker gang members out there. I'm gonna tell you right now, these 4 people had to kill about of that 4. Let's say it was 4 versus 12. Manny, Ray's father, son, and son's bodyguard versus, let's just say, 12 gangster biker outlaws. Okay, 4 to 12. For somehow, some way, I would say that these 4 killed about 7 bikers without no deaths happening to them. Okay, that's how goofy it was. I'm talking about just shots all over the place from the biker gang. None of them hitting, none of them connecting. And then every time that Ray, Manny, or his henchman or Ray's father, shoot, they hit spot on target. And I hate when that happens. I really do. So during the chaos of the shootout, Ray is able to get carried into the hospital, which is kind of interesting because it sets up the next episode. Because it's like, hey, if Ray is in the hospital, then shouldn't the DEA come by and arrest him by this point? And also, I can't help but notice that there was a gigantic shootout outside the freaking hospital. Okay, so you would imagine that the police are going to be there, taking evidence. There's bodies all over the place, and then they're going to say who's connected to these shootings. They're going to say, hey, it's this guy who just came in. You can only even the nurse staff that's kind of checking Ray in, they're dodging bullets too. So you got all these innocent people who are in danger, and you just have to just realize, like, how do they take this and make this make sense? Because in real life, Ray is getting booked for questioning, and he's staying in jail given the amount of information that the DEA has on him. So it's like, how do you try to make this make sense? I don't think there's a way to finagle out of this, but apparently they're going to find a way to do it. But then as Ray goes into the hospital and all these biker gang members are getting slaughtered by these 3 normal people, the saddest part, theoretically speaking, happens in this episode, because as Ray is being put into the gurney and the little willy thing at the hospital, he's screaming like, no, father, no. He's screaming at his father, and it's really contradictory because he was just trying to kill his father, Ray, I'm talking about, because his father is driving him to the hospital, but Ray is grabbing the steering wheel trying to kill them both because he's like delirious. So it's kind of weird to see him as he gets transported into the hospital to be screaming for his father. It's like, bro, you just tried to kill him. But nevertheless, the saddest part of this episode happens right then and there, because apparently one of the biker members gets the up on Ray's father at point blank range, and it is insinuated that biker gang member shoots Ray's father point blank range. And they don't show anything because as the gun goes off, the episode ends. And it's hard for me to fully believe that they allow him to die that way, because every time a gunshot is fired in this series, it's a misdirection. You know what I'm saying? I thought, well, I didn't think this, but some people could have thought that Ray committed suicide in the attic. Turns out he just shot the radio. I think that Ray's father was shot point blank range by the biker member because it was just like right there. You can't miss that. But it cuts off as it happens, so you have to just like wait until the next episode to confirm it. But that is what is insinuated, that his father perishes outside of the hospital as he's transporting his son. And it's kind of poetic, it's like his father was a great was a big reason for the way that Ray turned out by not being present and stuff like that. You definitely got the sense that Ray was angry and had all this animosity towards his father. But you also just saw in that last scene as he's being taken into the hospital that Ray does care about his father. He does love his father. But at the same time, it's hard to show that love given the anger there. And then we also hear Ray's father say in multiple instances that, he's giving his life for his son. So it's like a lot of things that are said that allude to Ray's father's passing. And it's at that point that he gets hit point blank range in front of the hospital as he transport Ray to the hospital. But that is where the episode concludes, okay? But yeah, I mean, a lot of weird stuff happened in this episode. Was it better than the last episode? It was, but not by much. I was really turned off by the shootout scene outside of the hospital. It was one of the most goofy shootouts I've ever seen because you got these three domestic people taking out this hardened biker gang. It's just so weird. And of the casualties, the biker gang only took out one, theoretically speaking, Ray's father, whereas Manny and company seemed to have taken out between 3 and 8 members of the biker gang. It was just weird. It was kind of dumb. So I didn't like that part. And to me, it lost or loses credibility with that. But I get it, because if you're writing a show, you got to make it suspenseful. I get it, and you got to protect your characters. But in my case, or in my opinion, if you're going to protect your characters, don't put them in a shootout in front of a hospital, because then the people watching have to try to make sense of that. That doesn't make sense, that this biker gang is losing like this to these domestic people. But I get it now. Once they put it like this, it's like, okay, if we're going to have Manny and company take out these hardened gang members, then they have to lose somebody important, that being Manny, Ray's father, etc., etc. So they basically say, hey, we'll sacrifice Ray's father, and then we'll also sacrifice between 5 and 8 biker gang members, because that's a fair trade. So if Manny, son's henchmen, Ray's father are able to kill 8 henchmen, or whatever the number is, then to balance the universe out in this universe, they had to sacrifice Ray's father at the end. I was like, okay, fine. Because without anybody dying, I probably would not watch this series anymore. I would say it's a little ridiculous. I'll watch like maybe the last episode just to see how it all ends and ties up. But I've had enough, all right? Because this is my problem with TV show adaptations or TV show thrillers. It's just like they have to protect their members because they want to do 14 different seasons on the same topic. And then they have all these weird nuances happening. Whereas with a movie, it's like, hey, you got 60 minutes. Whoever goes. But when you have a show, it's like The Walking Dead. I couldn't watch that because I'm like, yo, how many death traps can these people survive without nobody dying? It gets kind of ridiculous at some point. But yeah, that was it, man. I hope y'all enjoyed that recap. I hope that you was able to get a better understanding of it, because I do realize a lot of people wait for these recaps because they don't want to pay for Apple Plus. And let me tell you, I wouldn't pay for Apple Plus for this right now. I feel like Ridley Scott, he was the director for the first episode before he kind of left off and became more of a producer. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I saw. That's what I've kind of conjured up. But you can definitely tell that Ridley Scott has taken his hands off the series, and it hasn't been as good as the first maybe 2 episodes. I think after the first 2 episodes, it started to take this little weird decline. And I'll even give it the first 3 episodes. I would say the first 3 episodes are good, but now it's starting to charter into one of the like weird territory where it just does not make sense, okay? And it's goofy, all right? But nevertheless, I will watch the next one. I will keep you informed. Thank you all for checking me out. And I know you already looked at my shoe at least 3 times, so go cop that and throw a like on the video. I appreciate it. I've been my tongue, damn it. I appreciate you, and it's been cool. Peace.